Hello, everybody, and welcome to the first ever Empty Betters Overtime Report. If you are new here, my name is Harrison. I'm doing this show along with our intern, Jackson Gross, here on the other side of the screen. And for those of you who don't know, we are a hockey podcast. We're called the Empty Betters Hockey Podcast. Been doing it for 3 seasons now, trying to switch it up a little bit and do a little more of these quick recap reports. We chose a great time to start. We're just coming off of Game 4 of the 2022 Stanley Cup Finals. We have the Avalanche taking a commanding 3-1 series lead after a 3-2 overtime win against the Tampa Bay Lightning. We're going to recap that game real quick. We are going to discuss the Game 5 preview that'll be happening tomorrow. And in case you all aren't aware, we focus a lot on sports betting. So I would say, to my knowledge, we are the only hockey-specific sports betting podcast out there. Obviously, there's other podcasts that discuss both those topics, but it's not centered around that. So if you're in that wheelhouse, if that's your market, you'll definitely want to be tuning into our weekly podcasts and hopefully these overtime reports going forward. So Jackson, I'm going to toss it off to you, and I'm going to let you recap last night's Game 4 action.
Yeah, and we're talking about a good time. We also picked a pretty good game to recap. Lots of controversy in this one, but we'll get to that in a minute. So essentially, starting off, Tampa Bay gets a 1-0 lead after Darcy Kemper makes 3 incredible rebound saves, but Avs can't clear the zone, and Anthony Cirelli is on the doorstep and just barely gets it over Kemper's stick as he's trying to lunge back over. Quick thing before I go through the rest of the game. I know it's a thing in football where if the guy's helmet comes off, the play is dead. Is that not a thing with goalies in hockey?
It is a thing with goalies in hockey. I think that play happened so damn quick that the referees must have thought that it didn't impact the play, or the puck was already going to be going in by the time the helmet came off. I know that was a little bit controversial. Unfortunately, not the most controversial thing that happened in that game. We'll get to that here shortly.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure before we move forward. But that was pretty much all that was said and done for the first period. But head on over to the second period. The god himself, Nathan MacKinnon, oddly enough, scores his first goal of the finals 4 games in on the power play, coming off a Mikko Rantanen and Kill Makar assists. But Victor Hedman, I didn't know he had moves like that. Basically dekes into the zone and throws on a filthy backhander on Darcy Kemper. And that's happened about midway through the second period. And Tampa Bay took a 2-1 lead heading into the third period. I mean, that was just an insane goal.
So I tweeted out from our account right before that goal happened. I said, this game feels like Colorado's going to pull it out of their ass somehow, even though at that time they were getting drastically outplayed. Turns out, that ended up being true, but that Hedman goal came out of nowhere, and I really thought that Tampa was going to take it at that point. If you're not following us already, follow us on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, you name it. We're on there at Empty Betters, EMPTYBETTERS, not ORS. Make sure you get that right.
Sure the Baltimore spelling bee committee is very happy with that spelling.
Yeah, Maryland, Baltimore, Maryland based, baby. That's what it's all about.
All right. And we'll go ahead and head on into the third period with about 2:53 left to play. I think there's about 12 minutes left, or so, I don't remember when.
Exactly it was early. Yeah.
Okay, so early in the third period, Colorado finally ties it, and it's with I believe probably their fourth line, right? With Andrew
Cogs.
One of my most random favorite players for no reason is Andrew Cogliano, and I think that's just because he's played on so many damn teams in the playoffs that I just like, oh, there's Andrew Cogliano. And for all my gamers out there, I love the NHL series. He was always a good second or third line pickup.
Oh, fast as shit. Yeah,
exactly. So
it's got wheels.
Exactly. Probably not as much anymore, but so the fourth line gets it done early in that third period to tie it up at 2. Chances back and forth for pretty much the rest of that period. But but it went on into overtime. And then here's where things get interesting. Nazem Kadri, for those who don't know, finally came back after having surgery on his thumb during that Edmonton series in the Western Conference Final. He makes a sick move on Sergachev and then gets it basically through the armpit of Vasilevsky. And the call wasn't made at first because the puck had basically gotten stuck at the top of the net. Mm-hmm. A lot of people putting parallels to Patrick Kane's goal from the 2010 finals where no one could find it. But that's not the big controversy, though. Harry, if you would like to enlighten the folks on what everyone has been talking about when it came to this goal.
Yeah, so basically in that overtime period, McKinnon was coming off the ice as Kadri was going on the ice, and it was a really early change. So if you look in a still frame, they stopped the screen midway through the play, and there are 6 skaters on the ice for the Avalanche. Obviously, people are wanting a too many men on the ice call for that, which is understandable. It's clear as day there were too many men in the ice. Colorado had 6. I think there was even one screenshot that framed it as maybe being 7 people on the ice at once. Don't fact check me on that. We don't do that around here. But in my opinion, and not that anybody asks, it doesn't really seem like, McKinnon coming off the ice has any real impact on the goal. And that's kind of how the referees justified, or the NHL justified, or whoever justified the goal standing, is that extra skater was kind of like coming off of the ice. They weren't off of the ice yet, but they had no, relation to the ongoing play whatsoever. And then, like you said, Kadri buries it, gets stuck in between the back crossbar and the net. It got stuck up there. He didn't even know he scored until people started swarming him. So a little bit of a controversial one there, but in my opinion, I think the Lightning had 2 more power plays than the Avalanche. You got to find a way to capitalize there. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I agree. Although I think I am gonna fact check you really quick. I think both teams had 2 power plays.
Did they actually?
Yeah, both teams. Darren Helm had an interference in that first period, and then Tampa had 2 penalties in the second period, and then Bowen Byram had a hooking call in the second period.
So I was like in a twilight zone for that Byram one. Okay,
exactly. So
East Coast time.
But yeah, no, I mean, you blew a 2-1 lead, and in that still where it shows there's 6 guys on the ice, that puck is all the way down in Colorado's defensive end, and Kemper's playing the puck. So it's not like it's at mid central ice, or I always forget
the neutral zone. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
God.
Yeah. No, you're doing good. Yeah, I just don't think it has that much of an impact on the play personally. And that's my opinion. If you disagree, I'm not going to hate you on it. If, I'm a diehard Penguins fan, as anybody will see here. If that was the Pens in, Tampa's position, I'd be writing letters to Bettman right now saying the game should be replayed. So I get it. I'm with you.
Right. So, but, and it was just an interesting thing to see how John Cooper was reacting to all of this. And he couldn't talk to the media, which I kind of understand because he didn't want to get fined. But it kind of just seemed like, dude, you had a 2-1 lead in the third period at home. You got to finish that out.
Yeah, especially with Vasi and net. I mean, he hasn't really looked himself. And I know, the 2 games back in Tampa, he's, let in 5 goals total, which isn't horrible, but in Vasilevsky form, it I don't know. Something seems off right now, but nonetheless, the Avalanche take a 3-1 series lead. There has not been a team that has come back in the final from a 3-1 series deficit, I believe, since the 1942 Maple Leafs, is what TSN official just published. So there's 2 ways to look at it. It's been 90 or 80 years or something since that's happened. But if the Leafs can do it, you can too. Let's move on to our game 4 recap here real quick. Game 5 preview. We have the Avalanche going back home. We're going to be in Denver. The over-under is set at 6 currently. Colorado is a -175 favorite, and Tampa is a +155 underdog. And this is just worth throwing out there because of the value here. The Lightning to win the series now are +870, which is a lot, obviously, for the stat that we just read. It feels like everybody and their mother is going to be hammering the Avs on Friday night. It just really feels like that. They got all the momentum. It looks like they've crushed the soul of the Lightning. They're coming back home. The cup is in the house. McKinnon is going to be he's probably going to have 12 shots on goal or something insane like that, just shooting left and right. I don't know. I don't like thinking that it's that easy to close it out. I'm a Penguins fan. I've seen multiple occasions in the last, 7 years where you have a chance to close it out at home and you ruin it and then you win it on the road, right? That's just been the Penguins' MO in the past. Not saying that's going to happen to the Avs, but the Lightning are 2-time defending Cup champs. They have an insane record after a loss. And at plus 155, I don't think you're crazy if you go against the public. However, my bet would probably be Colorado, but I'll do it in regulation to bring the value down. I don't have that in front of me, but if I was to bet, it's probably like around minus 120, minus 130. Get a little bit better bang for your buck. I don't think 2 games are going to overtime in a row in this series.
Yeah, I think you're kind of spot on there. Although, at least with it going to overtime, I do have the Avs winning the series, only one of the 4. Just quick plug in there.
Yeah. Noted. Big time. The intern gets it right against the 3 experts here. So yes.
But I'm gonna go with Tampa for game 5, strictly because that weird stat or that huge stat where Vasilevsky is basically a god after a loss.
Yeah.
And I think they're gonna try and do obviously anything they can to force it back to Tampa. I think Tampa's going to have a little, obviously they only have a day or 2 to kind of get things together, but they're just going to have to play the best game of the playoffs. And I think, like you said earlier, Vasi has looked human in this entire series. And that's something I was not expecting to say.
Yep. I agree with you. Like I said, fade the public plus 155 on the Lightning. I don't hate that at all, especially coming off a loss. However, my money probably going to be on Colorado in regulation. I think it's just they've sucked the soul out of Tampa at this point. I will say the best prop of the night, a guy that we talked about on this most recent podcast, episode 131, Valeri Nichushkin. He's been red hot this finals. Quiet while in Tampa, but red hot when they were back in Denver for the first 2 games. For him to score a goal, depending on what book he got, you can probably find it around plus 190, plus 210, somewhere in that range. I think he's going to end up getting on the board in game 5. So that's something that I would take a look at. Do you have anything else that you want to add before we wrap up here?
No, I'm excited to see if the cup will be presented. Although one quick thing, I hate the patches on the jerseys. The
old ones were way better.
Yes.
Yeah. I think we can all agree on that one. Yes, I'll leave it at that. Anyways, we appreciate everybody for listening. Go check out Empty Betters on all the social media platforms. Got a bunch of sponsors that can hook you up with some cool deals. Then shout out to Kane Footwear. They sponsor us for the shoes, Brackish Life, Sharp Rank, all those guys. We appreciate it. Hopefully you enjoyed this first ever Empty Betters Overtime Report. We'll be back at you after game 5. Thanks for listening, everybody.